Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for joining us for another episode in the year of early childhood development. Wow, it's been quite a journey. Last month, we were talking about the preparation of the space for back to school, the reopening. And if you missed that episode, you want to go back and check it out to hear a principal, chairperson, as well as the Early Childhood Commission representative share on the whole preparation process for back to school, the involvement of everyone, all hands on deck, and how the schools are preparing. And I trust that you are following the Early Childhood Commission's social media pages because it's just a joy to watch what's happening in the different institutions as they share the little ones back out and they're engaging with the teachers and learning new things. And they're in this comfortable environment that was specially designed for them to learn and grow. And so we are going to be turning our attention on this episode to discussion about certification, the importance of certification, and some tips on how you sustain certification. So do stay tuned as the discussion continues. If it is your first time here, thank you so much for joining, whether you're live or you're watching the replay. Always a pleasure to have you here. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do so. And remember to share with others so that they can know what's going on in the Early Childhood Commission, the great things that are happening. But let me not say any more. Let me bring on our guests for this episode to join me in the person of Dr. Tracy-Ann Morgan-Smith, the Director of Regulation and Monitoring at the Early Childhood Commission. Welcome to the Serenity Resource Connector Space, Dr. Morgan-Smith.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right. So let me share with our viewers a little more about Dr. Morgan-Smith while she's sitting here to talk about certification. So, she has served for the past 15 years across different departments in the capacity of Early Childhood Inspector, Regional Supervisor for Early Childhood Development Services, Manager, Early Childhood Training and Development, and she's currently serving as the Director for Regulation and Monitoring, where she gives oversight to the core function of the Early Childhood Commission in regulating and monitoring the approximately 2,400 early childhood institutions in Jamaica. 2,400. Her professional training and practice have allowed her to gain valuable experience in early childhood development policies, programs, and plans at national and international levels. She was also trained in the People's Republic of China in kindergarten education management and pediatrics techniques. She has over 30 years of professional practice in the early childhood sector. She holds a PhD in education with specialization in early childhood development, or education rather. She's a researcher, writer, and founder of STEM Education for Children. Her research interest is in STEM education with focus on early math development. She holds professional membership in, you're going to have to help me out here, Doc, Global Honor Society in Education, where she was inducted in 2018 and is also an inductee in the National Society for Leadership and Success in the USA for 2021. She is a Justice of the Peace, an ordained elder in the Seventh day Adventist Church, and serves on the Executive Committee of Central Jamaica Conference of Seventh day Adventists. Importantly, she enjoys serving the children of Jamaica and her family. Qu- Quite quite a number of hats that you have worn over the period, Doc. And it explains your passion for what you do because you have been growing in the early childhood development area, right?
Yes,
You're muted.
it's
Unmute.
in my DNA. That's my passion.
All right. Amazing. And that's one thing I recognize about the team from Early Childhood Commission. Really passionate about what you do, and it comes across in your delivery. Welcome, Latoya. Great evening to you. Thank you for joining. And for the others that are on, welcome. Welcome. And be sure to share with others because we don't want to keep this great information to ourselves. So let's get the discussion going, Doc. Legal requirement for early childhood institutions. Why legal requirement, and why apply for a certificate of registration?
Under the Early Childhood Act of 2005, Section 3.1 mandates all operators to operate legally in Jamaica to apply for a certificate of registration. And that is important so that they will come under the ambit of the monitoring and regulation of the institution that has direct responsibility, which is the Early Childhood Commission, so that we can regulate and monitor their operations and programs to ensure that children are meeting their best developmental outcomes.
All right. And for those who have been joining us for a while, we always talk about 12 hashtag 12 standards matter. So that's what it's all about. We have to make sure that we maintain a particular standard so that our children are the best at what they do, because we're developing adults of tomorrow. They won't always be babies. So we have to prepare them for that. So talk to us about the process of registration, Doc. Something is going on with your microphone. You're muted.
So I'm sorry I was muted. It is very important for me now to define what is an early childhood institution
Indeed.
so that if you have one operating, you will know how to register. So, under the law, an early childhood institution is considered any place that cares for minimum of 4 children under the age of 6 years old. Those children are held up to 6 hours per day, and those institutions would include facility types such as daycares, nurseries, preschools, kindergartens, infant schools, and infant departments. So if you're catering for 4 children minimum and they stay in an olden area, or you're providing services up to 6 hours each day for them, then you are considered running an early childhood institution. So as I said before, the law requires you, mandates you to come and make an application. Now, if you go on our ECC website, you will find our application form, or you can send us an email at registration@ecc.gov.jm. That's registration@ecc.gov.jm, where you fill out that application form. You pay a fee of $1,500. That's the registration fee. The law requires the operator or the head of the institution, we can refer to them as principals, to have 2 photographs, that's 2 passport-sized photographs, 2 references from a justice of the peace, a minister of religion, a judge, a police in a gazetted rank, the principal or the chairman of an institution. Then each member of the staff must have, including the principal, the head, or the operator, a current police record within a year, a current medical within a year. All teachers and persons who provide food services or assist children to eat their lunch must have a current food handler's permit within a year, and other support staff will also be required to have their police record and their medical. The institution must be visited by the fire department, and you must be issued with a certificate that means that there is no health or safety hazard in terms of fire. And so you are saying that this institution have safety measures. The institution must be visited by the public health department to see that the institution and food service area provides no risk for the children in terms of health and safety as well. And you must be at a place where the building that you are using is passed by the parish council or the municipal to say that the building is used for its purpose and it is within a zone that will allow it to operate as an institution. You take these into the regulation and monitoring department of the Early Childhood Commission in the registration unit, and then within 15 days with your complete application form, it is processed and sent to the inspectorate. So that's the process of registration. So the inspectorate now will inspect your school, and based on the outcome of your inspection, you will be granted, if you have met all the standard, a certificate of registration.
All right. So, in essence, the process is really to ensure that the space that you're operating in is safe for the children because you're going to be having them there for a number of hours. So, you want to make sure that whatever you're feeding them is in keeping with the standards for preparing food and there's no hazard. So, you don't get any lawsuit. Is that so?
Right.
Right. So that's why because we want to grow healthy children all around, just not just they to be alert and all of that, but they can't be alert if they're not eating properly. So we have to make sure we take care of that. All right. Hey
Mm.
Shanette, welcome Moya Brown, Michael Thomas. This is Michael Thomas from Butner. Welcome, Sir Thomas. It's great to have you. Thanks for joining. All right. So, as it relates to the process, though, Doc, for the approval to operate,
Okay, then.
yes.
So after the inspector comes to your institution, the inspector is going to inspect your institution against the 12 national standards. And from that now, a recommendation based on how you're assessed on the standard, the outcome would be um, approval. And the interim approval we have is called a permit to operate. Now, the 12 standards are standard one, staffing; standard two, developmental educational program; standard three, interaction relations with children; standard four, physical environment; standard five, indoor and outdoor furnishing; and standard six, health; standard seven, nutrition; standard eight, safety; standard nine, child rights; standard 10, interaction with parents and community; 11 is administration; and standard 12, finance. So these are the areas that we look at in your operation to ensure that you are compliant. So an permit to operate is an interim approval that a school receive when they have met some, not all, of the standards, but however, there is no health and safety issues that at the school, no student is at risk, no teacher is at risk, no stakeholder at the school is at risk. So you have all your police record to say everybody there is okay to work with children, your food handlers permit, your medical, your fire, your public health, everything. And a development plan is developed for you to say, oh, this is how we're going to help you to meet the standard. So that is our interim approval. But then there's also our approval, which we mention as a gold standard approval, and that is what we call certification.
All right. Before we get into the certification, so there is a minimum standard that ought to be met for them to actually get the approval to operate. Correct?
Yes,
All
the
right.
permit to operate, yes.
That's a permit. All right. So, see, it's and then you have a developer plan. It's like when you're starting a business, right? You get your
Right. So you develop a
certification and you
development
develop your
plan to
plan.
help them develop to meet the outstanding areas in the standard that they are trying to achieve. That's correct.
All right. So there, as I've been saying from the very first episode, you're not left on your own. You have help, and you know it's a process, and you have
Mhm.
help throughout the entire process, and that's the important thing that you get help, and you're not required to do it alone. But in terms of the guidance to meet the minimum, what usually happens there when the documents are submitted, if it is that
I
everything
said,
is not in order.
okay, the unit, the registration unit has the customer service officers there and the data entry clerks there. So there's a liaison between them to say that this is what you have outstanding. So we send emails, and at times, because it is within the regulatory unit where the inspectorate is, sometimes we will send inspectors to go out and collect documents on their visits and development officers too, so that we meet persons halfway. You can see that. So we are going to send the email and we're going to send the call and we're going to say, okay, as of the 15th of September, your file was verified. Please note the following documents are outstanding, and we name them for who and all of that. So we give great customer service.
All right, that's it. And that's something I can compare with because I've had the pleasure of working with the Broadcasting Commission. So I have some idea as to how the whole regulatory process works and all of that. And yeah, the commissions really do give great service when it comes on to that kind of hand holding and monitoring. So that's really great because all of these are based on certain acts and regulations that are passed, and you're not just operating in silo, but it's a part of that framework. And so, Sharika Rowe, 12 Standards Matter. That's right. Thanks for joining. Amazing. All right. Before we go into the gold seal discussion, the ED, there was some sign off within the past week. Let's take a look at that.
Dr. William Singh, Chairman of Early Childhood Commission. First of all, congratulations to Team ECC. Congratulations to all these schools. Certification, this is a big deal. We have a lot of schools that are being certified. 12 standards being achieved. Congratulations. Thank you all. More donors needed.
All right.
Oh, that's
All,
so awesome.
all
That's so
right.
awesome.
Yes. All right. There was some fancy music there, but I had to remove that to avoid any copyright infringement. So, all right. So I trust that you got the message. There were what 17 certifications that were done, 15 new ones and two renewals, if my memory serves me
All right.
correctly. Right. But you're saying that how many do we have now in terms of certified
So we
institutions?
are happy to report the big magic number that we will celebrate that's tomorrow, and that's 300. 300 institutions in Jamaica are certified, and that's huge for us. That's huge for us.
That's indeed
300, and that's huge for us because
that's
it's
awesome.
300.
Right. And if we have 300 institutions getting it done, the others, you can get it done also. So
Yes, they
let's talk
can.
about how they can get it done. Certification,
Okay.
take us to how do they get that gold seal approval
So
to,
the gold seal approval is certification. You're
yeah.
issued that certificate that we saw there. It's the certificate of registration that has a valid date of 5 years from the date it was issued. And that's a big thing because it means that in the inspection process, when your school was assessed, that you would have met all the indicators, all the requirements under the 12 standards that are legal, and so you would have been given the gold seal of approval. And that's excellence. And so it means when an institution is certified, it means that that institution has attained um, what we would call that gold seal best model. So this is an institution where the teachers are trained, they have the best physical resources, they have They have teaching and learning resources. They have the best physical environment. They have outdoor play. They have outdoor equipment. That means that best practices for food safety, sanitization, activity planning, parent and community involvement. They are held accountable for how they keep their accounts. They have proper administration and management in terms of their policies and all of their administrative activity. They know how to communicate with parents. They facilitate training for the parents. It's just awesome. All the 12 standards that I have named to you, it means that in every way in those areas, they are doing what is required. So this is a model school. This is where I would want to send my child, because we know that research tells us that when all of these environments are created and we have teachers to guide students and a curriculum to guide them, and they know how to interact with them, then there is the possibility and always that the children will do well in all their developmental domains. So it is excellent. And you say this we can say this is an institution of excellence. And so that is why certification means so much to us. It is really building our students to be the citizens we want them to be. And so putting them in the best environment will mean that they will achieve their outcomes.
Amazing. That's why it's a gold seal. It's excellence is the aim, right? But Doc, in terms of the certification, obtaining that certification, on average, how long does it usually take an institution to get there?
It depends on many things. It depends on the support, especially from the management committee. People used to call that's a fancy word you call the board, right? That's the
Yes.
jargon we use. The management committee of involved is the PTA, and or do you have sponsors? Some schools are religiously affiliated. They're owned by different religious bodies and organizations. Some schools have corporate Jamaica affiliated and so on. So it has to do with your backing and also the strong leadership in that school. So how purposeful are you about certification, and how driven you are to ensure that your school is progressing? So that has a lot to do with it. So you can be certified as you open. If all the things are in place, you can be certified, right? But where we have a challenge most times is that lack of funding. And so the ECC is very purposeful in that we have a resource mobilization strategy. You talk about ECC and what we do, right? We are always there getting it done. So we have the cross-sectoral coordination department that looks at partnerships, and we're very big on public-private partnerships. That has driven certification, right? And so we have from NGO to the diaspora to corporate Jamaica, several. I don't want to call any names because I don't want anybody to get jealous, right? Because we have some really pushers of certification. And so they are the ones too that drive certification. So financing, lack of finance is one of the major things that will hold back a school from being certified. Yeah, but you get it, it has to do a lot too with leadership and how much backing you have and how committed you are to ensure that your school is meeting the gold seal standard.
Sounds like you need a really strong administrator as well as
Yes,
board support
yes,
to ensure that you get these things done, because outside of the ECC mobilizing the resources, the local on the ground, yeah, because some entities are able to really get some resources together. And when the calls go out for the different grants and so on, for them to pay attention and see that that is happening and to get that done. And Mr. Thomas is here, is a strong community advocate. And I know that he has done some really awesome things in Butner. They are getting a lot of resources. So if you have a community development groups like those in your area to push for that kind of support, then it makes it easier to get the job done. So it's a all hands on deck approach, and trusting that We are going into the final quarter of the year of early childhood development after this month. And I'm trusting that we'll have enough information out there for others to see the importance of investing in early childhood development. Because if we get it right at this level, Jamaica will be a better place. We have to get it right here, right? It's not too late. It's not too late. So instead of putting all the resources to fix the older folks, yeah, you have to do both at the same time. While you're seeking to remedy the situation, you have to be putting in systems in place to ensure that the younger ones do not follow along the same trajectory as what we have dealing with in the institutions at the primary stage and the high school stage, and those who have left high school without any guidance as to where they're to go. And as I mentioned that last week we had the community safety and security program, and we were talking about ECC, of course, because we were talking about police clubs, youth clubs in the infant schools. And so, of course, Early Childhood Commission had to come up in the conversation because I see that as a really great partnership with the police to ensure that you help to concretize some of those values and morals at the basic school, the infant school level. All right, we're at early childhood, so the early childhood institution level, right? Because it's all of that involved in the 12 standard. All right. So as we're on that, I've mentioned about the community group support. How can the wider public support the certification process?
Okay. So there are certain areas from you had asked me how quickly a school can be certified, right? And I
Right.
told you. So now from our trends dealing with institutions getting certified, there are some things we notice. Remember, I said lack of funding. So these are some of the areas. I hear you shouting out to one of our stakeholders, right? So these are some of the categories or areas I'm saying. If you want to help institutions, just give us a shout out. These are our major key areas that we always want to take them across the line. And when you say a school want to come across the line, these areas that I'm going to share with you are some of them that they need, right? So we look at equipment and resources. So like furniture, sometimes they need water tanks because part of our assessment, they have to ensure that even if they have water from the National Water Commission, they need to also have to have water in case of an emergency if there's a lack of, and that water must be potable. And when we test that water, it must have enough chlorine for us to say that it is safe for the children. So water tanks are always needed. Fans are needed. Why that is so? Sometimes based on how the institutions are built, it's hot, and so we take the temperature within a classroom because small children can't be very hot. They become very restless, so it means that it impacts on their concentration, right? For learning. So sometimes we need fans so that some classes are if it's one class, two classes, three classes, they the temperature within the class that it is of the minimum recording temperature that is required based on our assessment. Sometimes we need toys, diverse toys, different toys with toys, push toys, pull toys, soft toys, toys for motor development, toys for cognitive development, toys for everything. So we can tell you, because when we go in, yes, we look at the toys. How many toys? Are there sufficient toys for every child so that children are not fighting over toys? Are there toys that are going to help to develop all their domains? Yes, that is critical. So we can tell you the different type of toys we need. We need sleeping mats, yes, because they need to rest. We need fire extinguishers so that they meet the safety standards. We need bulbs. And again, lighting, very important. If children can't see well, it will affect their vision and it will also affect their learning. So sometimes we have to install additional lighting in classrooms. So we need bulbs, we need first aid kits, again, health and safety, because the school must have an up-to-date first aid kit for any emergency, right? So we need that. Some schools need that. We need non-touch thermometers. And since COVID, even before COVID or after COVID. This is part of our standards. That's important. And we need sanitization supplies. Even again, before and after COVID, we will always need that because that's part of our standards. And we need funding to assist with obtaining the major documents. Earlier, I spoke on that, right? So sometimes the practitioners are not able because some of the documents, or most of them actually, are renewable annually. And so this is a recurring expenditure. So they need assistance for their police record, for their medical, for their food handlers permit. They need for public health approval as well, because they have to pay some funding for some things. So municipal approval from the parish council because they have to pay for that, and some of them are renewable. So if you have funds, we can tell you exactly based from our inspection reports where schools are and what is the pattern we're seeing and where we can put that funding. It's just like at the touch of the button, we can tell you we have 40 schools that need this, 20 schools that need that. So we are open to you anytime. And if you think that you want to help us, trust me, give us a shout out. Even on our social pages, we will answer. Just say, I want to help early childhood development in any of the areas you have said. And we are happy to meet with you. So
That's right.
those are the areas we need assistance in to help schools to be certified.
Yes. And no help is too small because I
And sorry,
remember
fencing too, physical, like the fencing and
security.
repairs and painting and so on, the physical facilities and play equipment, those areas as well.
All right. Quite a number of things there. So we need to have a bucket list up, and we just go on and select which we're gonna get, so we can strike off those things off the list. A shout out to Kay Bacchus Atkinson, who keeps Twitter going, sharing the niceties about what's going on in the different early childhood institutions. As she mentioned earlier this week, that Saunders Basic in Morant Bay, St. Thomas, needs some more manipulatives. What are manipulatives?
Manipulatives are resources or things that children use to develop different developmental skills. So, for example, blocks are manipulatives. Once you can touch, move them to create anything, it manipulate. You can touch. Cube is a manipulator. You can pull it, squeeze it, do anything with it. So it's really a lot of movement. So it
Okay.
builds fine motor development, and based on it, it can do a lot of things. You can match, you can trace, you can move. It's just part of their development. So anything, lacing equipment, push and pull toys, counters, those things, anything you can manipulate, you can touch.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
counters, right.
All right. And you just went through an extensive list, but I want to make sure that we respond to Danielle Jarrett on Twitter in response to a Twitter space that you had. I think it might have been yesterday. He wanted to know the challenges, would definitely be the challenges that some of the early childhood institutions are now facing with meeting the criteria for accreditation. You would have gone through the list just now. And if Danielle Jarrett is on, please indicate if we have responded fully to your request to get more information as to the challenges. But we did not just share the challenges, but we also shared what the Early Childhood Commission has been doing, the stakeholders, the partners have been doing, and we are seeking additional support to get it done. So for the parents who are able to assist with a fan or some other things when you're going out there, to add a little one or two things based on what your classroom needs, and just check with the teachers and help to get some of those resources. Might mean that we forego one of those nice fancy things that we see on the supermarket shelf. We might not try it this month, but we can invest in developing the early childhood sector. All right, beautiful. Let's take some of the comments that are here. Welcome, Lady Willock Garden. It's great to have you. Lady Willock Garden was sitting in the virtual space with me last week from the Community Safety and Security Branch in Clarendon. Yes, we definitely have to get it right. All right. And Mr. Thomas is saying if you are able to get it right at the early childhood level, less resources will be needed to do corrective measures. And if Mr. Thomas says it, that settles it because he has been doing quite a bit of work in his community there in Butner. Awesome. All right. Someone is shouting out Auntie here. You can check that after. You're getting a shout out. I'm sure I saw a shout out for Auntie earlier. One of your nieces are here. All right. Oh, Tyrone is not niece, nephew. Tyrone Sims saying hi, Auntie. All right. Let us rally around our neighborhood ECIs. That's right, Moya. That's right. That's right. We can all make a difference in our local space. And it doesn't take much if we all pull together, because sometimes you have a number of community groups that are tripping over each other to provide support, especially when it comes on to Labor Day. So those are some of the projects that we need to look into. All right, Mrs. Backus Atkinson, you're here. Welcome. Yeah, hello, hello. Yes, she has been keeping Twitter alive and sharing all those lovely pictures, and I just live for them to see those children at play. Because every day is play day for the children, right?
Yeah.
Right, Doc?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, so we have heard now how we can assist, and we know different entities, and from there, different individuals would reach out. Those in the diaspora wanting to support their local communities. And so this is an area that we can actually point them to reach out to the Early Childhood Commission to provide this support, because sometimes the early childhood institution might not be able to receive some of these things that are coming from overseas, but you have a system set up to facilitate that, right, Doc? At the Early Childhood
Yes, that's
Commission.
correct. Through through net, we are able to do that.
Right.
Through
So
net,
for
we are able to do that. That's correct.
right. So for the community advocates, leaders that are tuned in, that's an area that you can look into, because I know that's quite a challenge sometimes where there are persons in the diaspora who wants to support the local institution, but there's a challenge in terms of the whole customs rigmarole. Here is an opportunity for you to reach out to the ECC and say, hey, here's someone who wants to send some support to one of the local schools. How can you facilitate? And they'll make it happen. All right. Awesome. So let's talk about some tips. Let's share some tips on sustainability. So once you get certified, we want to remain certified, right? Because it's not automatic that you remain certified. You have to maintain the standards
Yes,
to
that's
keep that
so.
certification, right?
Yes. So
Yeah.
that's why we had schools being recertified, right? Because after your 5 years period, you must be recertified to maintain the standard. Okay, so sustainability. First of all, I want to go back to something I said earlier. It is
Okay.
very important to have sound leadership. You must maintain a culture of excellence at your institution, or you must have a brand, right? So that's where you have to be very purposeful and mindful that we want to this institution to really model a culture of excellence. We
That's right.
want to ensure, yes. So from that now, I want you to what I call sell your institutions, right? Let us know what is happening around you and let the people around you know what is happening around you. So you have corporate citizens and you have community groups. Sell your institution. Let them know people like to associate their brand with a brand that they think that will enhance it. That's the world we live in.
That's right.
So if you're really doing well, reach out to the persons around you within your neighborhood. Some early childhood institutions have corporate entity within close proximity. Write to these people. Develop your probably annual, quarterly newsletter. What is it that you're doing? Let people know what you're doing. Put up your Twitter page, put up your website, let people know what you're doing. And so when you want help, they will know that, oh, this is an institution that is doing this. So I want you to always think about having a brand and modeling your brand and shout it out there for everybody to know. We said it. There are community groups. There are times when corporate Jamaica looks for project, as you said, Labor Day,
Right.
Christmas, and so on. If be there, knock on their door, leave that letter there, so that when they meet in their boardroom to say where our projects will be for community development, your letter is there already. Now, I must say this, that there is a pattern that we have noticed. Kingston and St. Andrew and the West, which the mighty tourist dollar, the West has the most schools certified, and Kingston and St. Andrew. And why is this pattern so visible? Again, it has to do with the strong urban commercial and industrialized area in Kingston and St. Andrew. And so that is the support you're seeing. And in the West, we're seeing the support of the mighty dollar. The first early childhood institution that was ever certified was the first to be recertified. And that is excellent because the principal says that one of the entities there in the tourist industry, she uses them. And she said this, and that's another thing. Don't allow, when you have achieved the standard, never allow your school to go below a standard. So remember, it's step by step and it's 12. So she said if there's a crack in the wall, she tries to repair it. And so these are some of the things that might look, but simple but true. Because if it is that you leave it and you had 10 things to do, and this crack develop and so it becomes 11 to 1, and you might just leave something else. So be purposeful. It has to do with management. So align yourself to an entity. Every institution have alumni. So this is part of selling to bring back the old boys and girls. They go to the school and some of them, they're all over the diaspora also. And we find that people want to give to schools within their particular parish because they think it's okay to give back to their community and so on. So find out those groups, those persons, right? You can also work with your development office and the team of ECC to do proposals, right? We facilitate that to do proposals to say, based on your development plan, you do a budget and you do a good proposal to say, this is what we want, this is the amount of funding it will require, and this is a purpose for it. And when you do that, you send it out, right? So you reach out to donors, right? Always remember, again, the ed, you have your staff. Know when all the documents for your school and your staff are going to be expired. Find a way of, probably if you want to say we will put down X amount and by the year is finished, we will provide half for the staff and the staff has half, or who it is that we can reach out to. But do these things. Be purposeful and strategic in mapping your documents and know when they're going to be expired so that they're renewable just in time and on time before they're expired and so on. So just keep up with what is happening because you have your inspection report, you correspond with the registration unit, you know what is missing. So keep up. Again, strong management is very important and always engage the community and the PTA. I would also say to you, if you are a principal or ed, do a skill balance from your PTA. Know who it is that can do things. Sometimes you have a repair to do like a crack and there's a parent who is competent to do it, or there's a parent who works at a paint factory and is able to get paint. So know your parents. Have a skill bank. When you call out to them, know who you can ask. And parents are really happy to help schooling out. This is something I said to someone that we're not tapping into the resources of our parents. And I'm saying it and reaching out to school leaders, really tap into the resources of parents. And one of the best thing I would say is formulate from your PT and staff and corporate entity civil groups, whatever, what is called a certification committee. Get these people to sit on it, to drive the certification and recertification of your school. And you get people from diverse sector involved in your school and driving certification, you will get there. So I want you to be purposeful about it, right? Because remember, the cause of certification is the betterment of the children of Jamaica. We want them to ensure that they are meeting their developmental outcomes. Because when that happens, a lot of things will change for our country, including our literacy indices, our numeracy indices. You see, we have crime and violence. Remember, one of our standard has to do with interactions, right? That is building relationships and so on. If we get it right from the start, we will keep them bright and keep Jamaica right. And that is very critical. Why invest in early childhood education and be purposeful about sustaining certification is in keeping with our Vision 2030 and more so our sustainable development goals, especially goal number 4. For the first time, our world leaders have met in many years to etch early childhood development into the global development plan for sustainability. And this is critical. So early childhood is a big thing, not only locally in our Vision 2020 and our goal number 1, but also our sustainable development goal number 4. So nationally and internationally, early childhood development is the most important thing right now for any country, for any group, and for chanting a sustainable future. So I am asking you to come and partner with us. Thank you very much.
All right. I trust that you're getting those tips, but just in case you missed it, the recording will be there. There is an entire playlist of all these discussions that we have been having with the Early Childhood Commission. So if you miss them, you can go back and watch the different episodes to see what we have been talking about and how you can be a part of this awesome, awesome movement that's going on to transform our early childhood institutions. Get it right from the start. You said something
Yes.
just now, Doc. I want to get it. Keep them bright so that
Yes.
we can get Jamaica right.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. And our children are really bright, you know.
Yes.
If you
We have
listen
the brightest children in the world.
if you listen to some of
Yes.
the conversations, it is just amazing. It's my little 3 years old niece. She just started it's a kindergarten or infant school she's going. I need to check it out to see which of them. Right.
Yes.
And she was asking, why are you waking up my big sister?
Okay.
I'm like, waking up your big sister? And she said, yes. I said, but I'm not waking her up. Yes, you're talking loud.
So she would say, you must use your inside voice.
Inside voice.
Tell you that. Use your inside voice.
They are amazing. And I love the discussions because you get so much from them. But you have to have the patience to have the conversations with them, and you'll be surprised at some of the things that they have to say and how they view things. Uh, is it possible to share a contact number? All right, we have a number. All right. One of the team members from ECC in the comments will do so, Sir Thomas. All right. Lady Shawnette, if you could help out there to share the contact number in the comments so that those who are joining will be able to reach out to the ECC easily. All right, or share the link where they can get all the contact details. All right, I'm gonna make sure I put it on in the comments in the description section as well for the video, so you can get easy access to that. All right, so we have basically exhausted the different areas unless there are any questions from our live viewers. I trust that you have a better understanding of the certification process, what it entails, some tips that you can utilize to get it done. And I love that, Doc, in terms of setting up that committee, because at least that committee would be tracking, and even if they're meeting quarterly, to see where we're at and what needs to be done, and help in terms of mobilizing some resources so that we can get some of these things done and get checked off. So by the time the ECC inspector gets there, they can say, hey, we are on a roll. So let's work for the team at the ECC. Yeah. We're going to get it right. I believe we're going to get it right. We just need to continue to have these conversations. And another important thing that you mentioned is in terms of visibility, because really and truly, sometimes we don't remember that some of these early childhood institutions are around. So you have to maintain a presence so that when we're thinking about different activities, when corporate is thinking about support, and we can't wait until last minute because these institutions are getting a lot of requests. So you have to be on top of it to ensure you align yourself. If you can get an institution to adopt your school, that would be awesome. All right. All right. So thank you so much, Doc, for sharing space with me here on the Serenity Resource Connector.
It
It was
was my pleasure. Thank you.
my pleasure too. Importance of certification. All right, but before we wrap, there's a very important question that I believe we need to address in terms of the registration of the institution with the Companies Office, because they do get a certificate of registration or incorporation. They're required to have that to operate the institution, correct?
Um, no, schools
No,
don't necessarily.
they don't
However,
register
based
with the
on
company
like some
office.
daycares and based on how they operate, yes, what is required is our certificate of registration to be certified. That is what is required under law to operate. But there are some entities like daycare who register their organization through them. Yeah, but like our schools don't have to.
For those
Because
in
remember, we have public schools, we call them public schools, public private, because the government gives to some of those schools some measures of subsidies and grants, and then we have private, or no, right. So those schools, like, yes, so it depends on how the person sees their entity, then they will. But overall, it is the certificate of registration that is what makes you that's a gold seal.
right, but before they get there, what do they need to operate before they get to the certification with the Early Childhood Commission?
No, the law said, as I said, Section 3(1), that if you want to operate, you must apply to the Early Childhood Commission.
Right. And once
That's
they apply to the Early Childhood
yes,
Commission, well,
yes,
you'll take them
yes,
through the process, so we have nothing to worry about.
yes.
All right. Excellent and very extensive delivery, Dr. Morgan Smith. Big up Team ECC all the time. Thank you, Moya. All right. It was such a pleasure to have you all here live with us. And for those who will be watching the replay, thank you for stopping by. Please remember to share the information, do subscribe, and check out the other episodes, because we have a different discussion each week. Next Thursday coming up, fourth Thursday, will be the conversation with the Clarendon Municipal Corporation, and we're going to turn our attention to the Roads and Works Department. So you want to tune in to hear what it is that the roles and functions are and what they have been doing there in terms of the different projects that they're working on. We do this again with the Early Childhood Commission, third Thursday in the month of October, God's willing. So let me thank you again for tuning in and continue to stay connected. All right. I know that sometimes YouTube do not send out the notification, so be sure to follow the Serenity Resource Connector on either Instagram or Facebook, Serenity Resource Connector. On the Twitter, it's tweeting as Serenity Advisor. So do connect there so that you can get the update on what's coming up next, what we did the previous week, so that we can stay connected and as we share resources and grow together and build Jamaica together. Let's get it again. Keep them bright so that we can get Jamaica right. All right.
Mm.
Thank you again. God bless you all. Continue to stay safe.
Never said them or something. Why you never turn off your phone? You never let phone.